Let's solve this IELTS academic reading passage from Cambridge Book 20. The title of the passage is Can the planet's coral reefs be saved? Coral reefs are groups of small sea animals called corals that live together under the sea. They may look like colorful rocks, but they are actually living. You may have seen them in movies or videos where people go scuba diving in the ocean. Here, planet means the earth. So, from the title, we understand that coral reefs are in danger, and the passage is asking whether they can be saved. Before we start the questions, let's quickly look at a few important words that will help you find answers faster. If you want, you can skip this part. In the question, we may see the word contamination, but in the passage, the word used is pollution. Both mean something becomes dirty or harmful. Next, reproduction can also be written as breeding. Spawn means to produce or release eggs. So all three refer to the same idea. Speed up reproduction means increase breeding rate. Thermal stress means damage caused by heat. In the same context, we see words like overheated, higher temperatures, increase in warmth, and rising temperature. All of these convey the same idea. Sometimes the words in the question and passage are not the same, but the meaning matches. For example, changed sea conditions can be described in the passage as warm acidic waters. Another important word is cope. If corals can cope well, it means they survive well or are hardy types. We also see problem related words like threat, cause of damage, or harsh conditions, which all refer to problems. Finally, we see cause effect language like lead to, result in, and trigger. Instead of saying this happens and then that happens, the passage may say this triggers that. That's it. Now let's move to the questions and see how these actually help us find the answers. First, we have list of headings questions, also called matching headings. In these questions, we are given a list of headings and we have to match one heading to each section. Remember, one section can have more than one paragraph. The first step is to understand the main idea of the section. To do this, start reading every sentence of the paragraph. After a few words, you understand the direction of the sentence, so you can move faster. You do not need to read every word in detail. Look for connectors like but, however, and although. These show that the sentence has two parts, so check the second part as well. Skip examples, words like such as and including. Skip lists of items, the names of people with what they do. If you see information between dashes, you can skip that part. If you see a colon, you can skip what comes after it while trying to get the main idea. Once you understand what the paragraph is mainly saying, move to the headings, start eliminating the options that clearly do not match. You'll usually be left with two or three options. Then read those options more carefully and choose the best heading. Before we move on, let's quickly understand each heading. First, tried and tested solutions. We are looking for solutions to a problem. There is more than one solution, and the solutions are not new or experimental. People have used them before and know how they work. Next, cooperation beneath the waves. Beneath the waves means under the sea, and cooperation means working together. We are looking for different things working together under the sea, such as animals and plants. Third, working to lessen the problems. This means trying to reduce problems or solve them. Fourth, disagreement about the accuracy of a certain phrase. A phrase means a group of words. We are looking for a situation where some people think the phrase is correct, but others do not agree. Fifth, two clear educational goals. This means there are two things that someone wants to do related to teaching or learning. Sixth, promoting hope. This means trying to make people feel positive or hopeful. And finally, a warning of further trouble ahead. For this, we are looking for a mention of the future. This means a warning that more problems may come later. Here's question 14. You have to give a heading to section A, which has two paragraphs. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Section A has two paragraphs. Some parts are in blue to show what we should focus on. There is some extra information that we need to ignore for list of headings. Example, information between dashes, which is different types of corals. Or after this colon, we have names of fishes. We also have information about a person, Paul Pierce Kelly. We don't need details of what this person does or where he works. The first paragraph says that an artificial coral reef is being built in London Zoo. In the second sentence, it says there are some fish in there, and then we are given examples of corals and fishes which we don't need. The third sentence says that all of this is in a new gallery in the London Zoo. The name of the gallery is Tiny Giants, and this gallery focuses on invertebrate creatures. In the main points I've just written, it focuses on a certain type of animal. This detail is probably not important for the heading. Then it says that this reef tank is the core or main part of the exhibition. The second paragraph of section A says that coral reef is a diverse ecosystem, which means many different types of plants and animals are there in it. Then it says the people in the zoo want to show how wonderful coral reefs are. And they also want to show the research and conservation efforts, that is, saving the coral reefs from global warming. So basically, they want to show that coral reefs are great and what is being done to protect them. Now let's compare these points with the headings. We'll put a cross in front of any heading we are sure cannot be the answer and a question mark if we are unsure. Option 1, tried and tested solutions. Not many problems are mentioned in the section. The first paragraph has no mention of any problems. The second paragraph mentions global warming and conservation efforts. These efforts can be a solution, but there is no mention that these efforts are tried and tested, that they are already used and proven to work, and no specific solutions are mentioned. Option 2, cooperation beneath the waves. We see a mention of corals and fish and some other creatures as well. But cooperation means they are working together or helping each other. That is not mentioned here. These paragraphs only mention coral and fish, not how they interact. Option 3, working to lessen the problems. This is similar to option 1. At the end of the paragraphs, it says that there is research and conservation efforts to save coral reefs. So this may look possible, but this is not the focus of this section, and multiple problems are not mentioned. So lessen the problems is not clearly stated. Option 4, disagreement about the accuracy of a certain phrase. A phrase means a group of words. This option is about people disagreeing about whether a phrase is correct. There is no such mention in this section. Option 5, two clear educational goals. Look at points 5 and 6 in our main ideas. They want to show people the importance of coral reefs and also want to show research and conservation efforts. These are two clear aims or goals. If we are expecting that for educational goals, we will see some mention of students or schools or university, that is not necessary. The people in the zoo want to teach the general public these two things. So, this matches very well. Option 6, promoting hope. The paragraphs talk about how beautiful coral reefs are and what is being done. But it does not say that everything will be fine or that people should feel hopeful. Option 7, a warning of further trouble ahead. This means warning about future problems. There is a mention of global warming, but there is no clear warning about future trouble. So, this is not the main focus. So, finally, we can see options 1 and 3 are slightly related because there is some problem and some solution mentioned, but they do not exactly match what is said in the paragraphs. The only heading that fits perfectly is option 5, two clear educational goals. Also, notice one important point. Section A has two paragraphs, but the correct heading comes mainly from the second paragraph. The first paragraph gives background information, but it does not match any heading. So the answer to question 14 is option 5, two clear educational goals. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1 of section A, and here are the meanings from paragraph 2. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 15. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. The paragraph gives us a description of what corals are. First, it says that they are made of tiny animals. What these animals are called is not important for choosing the heading, so we can ignore it. So, they are tiny animals and they use tentacles, some parts of their body, to catch small sea animals. Then it says corals are transparent and algae live inside them. Algae are very small plant like organisms that live in water. The colors we see in corals come from these algae. These two sentences have a lot of information. They explain the relationship between the algae and the corals. The corals get color from algae get protection from coral, and then corals get nutrients from algae. This is called a symbiotic relationship. A symbiotic relationship means both organisms help each other. At the end, it says that coral reefs cover very small part of the ocean, but many species live in them. Now let's compare these main points with the headings. First, we eliminate the headings which are clearly incorrect. Headings 1 and 3 talk about problems and solutions. There are no problems or solutions mentioned in this paragraph. Option 4 is about disagreement about a phrase. There is nothing like that here, so we eliminate it. Option 6 is promoting hope. There is nothing about making people feel hopeful. Option 7 is about warning of future trouble. There is no mention of the future. Option 5 is about educational goals. There is nothing about teachings or aims, so option 5 is incorrect. Now we are left with option 2, cooperation beneath the waves. Cooperation means working together. Beneath the waves means under the sea. This matches perfectly with the idea of a symbiotic relationship where corals and algae help each other. So the answer to question 15 is option 2, cooperation beneath the waves. One important point here is that knowing the meaning of the word symbiotic makes this question easier. But even if you do not know the word, you can still understand from the explanation that both are helping each other. It's clearly mentioned that algae get protection from coral and coral gets nutrients from algae. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph B. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. As you can see on screen, tentacles are like long, thin, flexible arms. Here's question 16. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. First, we understand what the paragraph is saying. It starts with as a result, which connects to the previous paragraph, paragraph B, which talks about many species living within coral reefs. So, because many species live there, coral reefs are sometimes called the rainforests of the sea because rainforests have a lot of species. But then it says this comparison is dismissed by some people, or some people do not agree with this comparison. Naturalists are people who study nature, and David Attenborough is a famous naturalist. So they do not agree with calling coral reefs rainforests. After this, it explains how they are different. In rainforests, many animals are hiding in the trees. But if you go underwater, you can clearly see that coral reefs are full of wildlife and are very beautiful. Now let's look at the headings. Any heading that talks about a problem or a solution is not an option because this paragraph does not talk about any problem or solution. So we can eliminate 1 and 3. Option 2 is cooperation beneath the waves. Although the paragraph mentions many animals and organisms, there is no idea of them helping each other. So 2 is incorrect. There are no educational goals, so option 5 is wrong. Option 6 is promoting hope. There is nothing about hope or a better future, so we eliminate it. Option 7 talks about some warning for future, and this is also incorrect. Option 4 says disagreement about the accuracy of a certain phrase. The keyword here is phrase, which means a group of words. The phrase in the paragraph is rainforests of the sea. The paragraph clearly shows that some people think this phrase is correct, but others do not agree. So, this is a clear case of disagreement about whether a phrase is correct or not. So, the answer to question 16 is 4. One small tip here. If you notice the words in quotation marks, like rainforests of the sea, they often indicate a phrase. So always check if there is any disagreement or discussion about that phrase. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph C. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 17. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Section D has 2 paragraphs, so there is a lot of information here. It starts with these majestic sites are now under very serious threat. These majestic sites refers to coral reefs because the previous paragraph ended by describing how beautiful they are. So coral reefs are in serious danger. Then the dangers or problems are listed. The first problem is thermal stress. Thermal means anything related to heat. So this refers to rising ocean temperatures. Then this is explained. Because of rising ocean temperatures, there are bleaching events which cause reefs to lose their color and eventually they die. You can think of bleaching like removing color from something, similar to how bleach removes color from clothes. Then it says other menaces. Menaces means problems or threats. So the other problems include, and then these problems are listed. We don't need to go into the details of it. There are 4 5 problems listed in this sentence. We just need to focus on that there are more problems that are listed in this paragraph. After that, it says large areas have already been destroyed, and then it gives a prediction. By 2050, that is in the future, 90% of the reefs will be lost because of global heating. The next paragraph continues with this idea. Here also, the harsh conditions or problems are mentioned. Then it says that if something goes wrong with the ocean, we see the first reaction in corals. So now, if the coral reefs are dying, it is telling us that something is wrong with our planet. Let's now compare this with the headings. This section is mainly about problems and what could happen in the future. So there are some options which are clearly incorrect. There is no cooperation beneath the waves mentioned. There are no educational goals. Promoting hope is incorrect. There is no phrase over which there is a disagreement. Now we are left with 3 headings: 1, 3, and 7. Options 1 and 3 talk about solutions. The first one says tried and tested solutions, which means solutions we have used before. And the third one says some way to make the problems less. This is also solutions. This paragraph talks about problems and then it says that corals are dying. There is nothing about solutions in this paragraph. So 1 and 3 are incorrect. The only one we are left with is option 7, and it talks about some further trouble ahead, which means something going wrong in the future. And in these paragraphs, we have this warning that in future, by 2050, 90% of coral reefs could be lost. So the correct answer to question 17 is 7. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1 of section D, and here are the meanings from paragraph 2. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 18. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. Pinpoint means to find or identify something clearly. Hardy types of coral means strong corals. In the previous paragraph, we saw many problems, including overheated oceans. So, because oceans are getting too hot, scientists are trying to find corals that can survive these conditions. Some of this research is happening at London Zoo. Coral reef tank in London Zoo is explained in section A. Behind this tank, scientists will be studying different coral species. After that, 2 aims of the research are mentioned. One aim is to find corals that can survive in warm acidic waters. Second aim is to increase coral breeding rates. Breeding rate means how often an animal reproduces. Spawn also means to reproduce. Corals naturally reproduce only once a year, but scientists are trying to increase how often they reproduce. They can now make some corals reproduce artificially. This means reproduction can happen more than once a year. And finally, it says that if these coral spawning or coral reproduction programs can work in other species, this can help to restore the damaged reefs. Now let's compare this with the headings. The paragraph is mainly about what scientists are doing to solve the problem. Option 4 is about a phrase, so it is wrong. Option 6 is about promoting hope. Although the situation is positive, the focus is not on giving hope, so we eliminate it. Option 7 is a warning. There is no warning here. Option 5 is 2 clear educational goals or educational aims. This may seem like the correct answer because 2 aims or goals are clearly mentioned, but these are not educational goals. These are research goals. So, option 5 is also wrong. There is nothing about cooperation between two or more animals or plants. So, option 2 is incorrect. Now we are left with 1 and 3. Both are about solutions to problems. And this paragraph is about research to solve problems. Option 1 says tried and tested solutions. This means solutions that are already proven to work. But here, scientists are still researching and testing ideas. The paragraph mentions things like if this can happen, which means these are not tried and tested solutions. They are still trying the solutions. So, option 1 is incorrect. Option 3 is working to lessen the problems. This matches perfectly because the paragraph shows efforts to reduce the problem. So, the answer to question 18 is 3, working to lessen the problems. Here are the meanings of each sentence from section E. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 19. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. The previous paragraph, section E, is all about research on corals. So this paragraph starts with research in these fields, meaning research on coral reefs and how to help them survive. It first tells us where the research is happening. It is happening all around the world, and London Zoo Centre is connected to this global network. Then it says that the research done in one place can be tested in other places. After that, it mentions the result of this research. Young corals are produced and they can be displayed in tiny giants. We do not need to focus too much on the name Tiny Giants because it is the name of a place, it is capitalized. Then it says something very important. The progress made in this research can be shown to the public, and this can encourage people to believe that they can do something to save coral reefs. Finally, it says that saving coral reefs is a very important environmental goal. Now, let's compare this with the headings. Option 2, cooperation beneath the waves, is not correct. There is nothing about organisms helping each other. Option 4 is wrong. There is no phrase being discussed. Option 7 is warning of future trouble. It just mentions that it's an important goal to save coral reefs, but there is no warning here. Option 1 and 3 are about solutions. Although research is mentioned, the focus is not on specific solutions being applied or reduced problems. So these do not match. Now let's look at options 5 and 6. Option 5 is two clear educational goals. There is a mention of showing progress to the public and encouraging them. Even if you think this is a teaching goal, it is still only one goal and not two, just to motivate the people. The heading says two educational goals, so this cannot be the correct answer. Option 6 is promoting hope. The paragraph clearly says that showing progress can encourage people to believe that we can save coral reefs. This is directly giving hope to people. So the answer to question 19 is 6, promoting hope. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph F. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here are all the answers to the list of headings questions along with the parts of the passage that helped us find them. There are three main things we need to focus on. First, understand the main idea or the gist of each paragraph. For this, we start reading every sentence, but after a few words, we usually understand what the sentence is about. After that, we can start skipping extra details like examples, names, and lists. Second, read the headings carefully. Many mistakes happen because we don't fully understand what the heading is actually saying. In these questions, two headings, the first one and the third one, are talking about solutions to problems. But tried and tested solutions tells us that these are solutions that have worked before. So the two headings have different meanings. Third, use the method of elimination. Remove the options that are clearly wrong and then compare the remaining ones carefully with the paragraph. One very tricky heading here is two clear educational goals. There are two places where you might feel this fits. First, in question 18, two aims are mentioned, but those are research goals and not educational goals. Second, in question 19, we see ideas of showing progress to the public and encouraging them. This might look like an educational goal. If you misunderstand a heading, it can create a chain problem. For example, if someone is unsure about question 14, they might try to use option 5 somewhere, like in question 18 or 19. And since option 5 is actually the correct answer for question 14, using it in another question will make that answer wrong. So, one confusion can lead to two wrong answers. Another point, sometimes when a difficult word appears in the passage, it is explained nearby. For example, the word symbiotic. If you know the meaning, it becomes very easy. It means working together or helping each other. But even if you don't know the word, the sentence explains it. It tells us how corals and algae help each other. So we can still understand the idea and find the correct heading. For question 16, it is important to understand the word phrase, which simply means a group of words. The phrase rainforests of the sea is clearly shown in quotation marks, and the paragraph talks about whether this phrase is accurate or not. So the answer becomes clear. For question 17, a warning of further trouble ahead means a warning about the future. In section D, we see a clear future reference, the year 2050. That makes it easier to identify this heading. Now we move on to the next question type. These are multiple choice questions where we have to choose two correct answers for each question. To solve multiple choice questions, we follow a few simple steps. First, read and understand the question and all the options carefully. Second, identify keywords from the question that can help you locate the answer in the passage. Third, scan the passage to find the likely location. Then read that part carefully, compare it with the options, and eliminate incorrect answers as you go. Here are questions 20 and 21. Pause here and try to find the two correct answers. Let's check. First, we understand the question clearly. We are looking for two causes of damage to coral reefs. Option A talks about extreme storms. Extreme means very strong. So, this option is saying that very strong storms are increasing, and because of that, coral reefs are getting damaged. Option B says the removal of too many fish from the sea. Too many means more than needed. So, this means we are taking out too many fish from the ocean, and that is damaging coral reefs. Option C says contamination of the sea from the waste. Contamination means to make something dirty or polluted. So, this means that the sea is getting polluted because of waste. Option D is increased disease among marine species. Marine means related to sea. So, this means more diseases among sea animals. Option E. Alterations in the usual flow of water in the seas. Alterations means changes. Flow of water means how water moves. So this means changes in how ocean water normally moves. Now, how do we find where the answer is? There are no clear keywords like names or numbers here, so we use another strategy. One way is to look for simple words from the options like storms, fish, or disease. These are words we may find directly in the passage. And even if the exact word is not there, we might find similar words. For example, instead of disease, we might see illness or sickness. But in this case, this method does not really help. We do not clearly find these words connected to damage. That is why we use another method. We look at the first sentence of each paragraph. When we do that, we see that section D clearly talks about coral reefs being under serious threat. So, this is where the causes of damage will be mentioned. Now we read section D carefully. Here, different words are used for causes of damage: threat, problem, menaces, and harsh conditions. All of these are talking about problems that cause damage. So we focus on these parts. There are several causes listed here. If we count them, there are 8 different causes mentioned: thermal stress, ocean acidification, sea level increase, pollution by humans, deoxygenation, ocean current changes, climate crisis, and wave erosion. So, our job here is that from these 8 causes, we have to check which ones match the options given. Option C says contamination of the sea from waste. Contamination means something is dirty or polluted. In the passage, we see pollution by humans. So, contamination and pollution mean the same thing. That is why option C is correct. Option E says changes in the usual flow of water. Flow of water means how water moves. In the passage, we see ocean current changes. Current means the natural movement or flow of water. So both are talking about the same idea: changes in how water moves. That is why option E is also correct. There is no mention of extreme storms, removing too many fish, and disease among marine species. So these are incorrect. The answers to questions 20 and 21 are C and E. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1 of section D, and here are the meanings of paragraph 2. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here are questions 22 and 23. Pause and try to find the 2 correct options. Let's check. The question is asking, what are the 2 things which are true about the researchers at London Zoo? So basically, what are the 2 things they are doing? Option A, bred means reproduced. So according to this option, scientists are trying to increase the number of different types of corals being reproduced in laboratories. Option B, cope means to deal with something or to survive something. So this means scientists are trying to find out which corals can survive in the changed sea conditions. Option C, scientists are trying to create artificial reefs, that is, man made reefs where corals can grow. Option D, the scientists are trying methods to make coral reproduce more or reproduce faster. Option E, they are investigating or they are studying materials or things that can protect reefs from high temperatures. Now, for locating where the answer is in the passage, we do have London Zoo, which is capitalized, but it appears in multiple sections. Also, words like research and scientists also appear in more than one place. So we scan those parts a little. In section E, we see words like hardy types of coral, breeding rates, and spawn, which means reproduce. So from this, we get that the answer is most probably in section E. Now we compare the information in section E with the options. We made a list of the main points of section E when doing list of heading questions. So here we see two clear aims of research, one aim and another. The first aim is to find species that survive in warm acidic waters. So, because of pollution and other human activities, ocean water has become warmer and more acidic. Warm acidic waters are the changed sea conditions. To survive something is to cope. So, scientists are trying to find corals that can survive this. This matches option B. The second aim that is mentioned is to increase coral breeding rates. After this, it says that coral spawn or reproduce once a year naturally, but scientists are trying to get them to reproduce artificially several times a year. So, this means they are trying out methods to speed up or to increase reproduction. That is option D. Option A says increasing the number of corals being bred. That is not exactly what the passage says. You could confuse it with option D. The passage is about increasing the rate of reproduction, not increasing the number of corals in labs. So option A is incorrect. Option C talks about artificial reefs. So the word artificial is mentioned, which we see in the passage, but the passage is about artificial reproduction, not artificial reefs. So option C is incorrect. Option E talks about materials to protect reefs from heat. There is a mention of surviving warm waters, but nothing about using any materials to protect them. So option E is incorrect. The answers to questions 22 and 23 are B and D. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph E. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here are all the answers to the multiple choice questions along with their locations in the passage. In questions 20 and 21, there are multiple causes of damage to coral reefs mentioned in just two or three sentences in the passage. We have to check which of those 8 causes are given in the options. For questions 22 and 23, London Zoo is mentioned in multiple paragraphs. So that alone does not help us locate the answer. Words like hardy types of coral and breeding rates help us identify that the answer is in section E. After that, two clear aims are mentioned, which help us find the correct answers. These are the steps we followed to solve these multiple choice questions. First, we read and understand the question and options. Then, we try to find the tentative location of the answer. In many cases, capitalized words, numbers, or paragraph references help us locate the answer. In these questions, that did not help. So we looked for other keywords like reproduction, and we also used the first sentence of each paragraph to identify the correct section. After that, we compared the information in that paragraph with the options and eliminated the incorrect ones. Now we move on to the next set of questions, gap fill questions. For these questions, we have to find the exact word or words from the passage for the answer. And it is clearly mentioned how many words are allowed. In this case, it says one word only. So we must write just one word for each answer. To solve these questions, first we read and understand the sentence. If needed, we can break it into points, especially if the sentence is long. Then we find the tentative location of the answer in the passage. After that, we read that part carefully and look for the exact word that fits the blank. Here is question 24. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. A number of means many. So the question is saying that corals have many something, and these something are used to collect food. Now there are no easy keywords in this question. The only word we might look for is food, but that exact word is not used in the passage. However, we know that these gap fill answers come in order. One word that is easy to find in this set of questions is algae, which is in question 25. So we locate algae in the passage and we find it in section B. That means the answer to question 25 is around this part, and the answer to question 24 must come before this. So it will either be in section A or at the beginning of section B. Now we read that part carefully. It says that corals are made of tiny animals or very small animals called polyps. Then it describes polyps. It says they have tentacles which are used for capturing small marine creatures in the seawater. It is not directly written that these small marine creatures are food, but from the context, we understand that corals are capturing them, so they are collecting them as food. There is a picture on your screen to help you understand what tentacles look like. So the answer to question 24 is tentacles. Here's question 25. This is where we found the answer to the previous question. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question says that algae are inside the coral and they gain or benefit something from being inside the coral. So, what do the algae gain? Algae are very small plant like organisms that live in water. You can think of them as the green slimy layer you sometimes see in water. Here in the passage, a symbiotic relationship is mentioned. This means a relationship where both sides benefit. They help each other. Now, the difficult part here is that all the information is given in one long sentence. So, we have to break it down carefully and understand who is getting what or who is gaining what. So, these are the three things that are mentioned. Corals get color from algae, algae get protection from coral, and coral get nutrition from algae. This is something we already discussed in detail when we worked on the heading for this section, question 15. So, focusing only on algae, what do they gain? They gain protection. So, the answer to question 25 is protection. Here are the meanings of each sentence from section B. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 26. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question is saying that if seawater becomes warmer, that is, if the temperature of seawater increases, it can remove something from coral. So, what can it remove? Now, finding the location of this answer takes a little bit effort. We found the answers to questions 24 and 25 in section B. After that, we start scanning the passage for words related to temperature or something being removed. We do not find anything relevant in section C, but in section D, we see phrases like thermal stress and rising ocean temperatures. So, this is where the answer will be. Now, we read this part carefully. It says that rising ocean temperatures are triggering bleaching events that strip reefs of their color. Trigger means to cause something, bleach means to remove color. For example, we use bleach to remove stains from white clothes, but if we use it on colored clothes, the color fades. In the same way, bleaching in corals mean their color is removed. Strip means remove. So what this is saying is warmer sea water strips or removes the color from coral reefs. The answer to question 26 is color. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1 of section D. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here are all the answers to these gap fill questions along with their locations in the passage. The answers are in order. The first two answers are very close to each other, and the third one skips a paragraph and comes later in the passage. This is the step by step technique we follow for these questions. First, we read and understand the question clearly. Then, we try to find the tentative location of the answer in the passage. Capitalized words can help a lot, but even if they are not there, unique or easy to find words like algae can help us. If nothing works, try reading the first sentence of each paragraph. After that, we read that part of the passage carefully and confirm the exact word for the answer. With this, we are done with all the questions from this passage. We'll continue with passage 3 of this test, test 3 from book 20, in a future video. I hope this helped you. Bye for now and all the very best.